This is an amazing tweet. We don't read his tweets very often, but as this devastating economic news has crossed, the president 2 minutes ago tweeted about universal mail-in voting, said it will be inaccurate and fraudulent. And here's the key. He asks, he put question marks at the end, delay the election until people can properly, securely, and safely vote. The president of the United States floating the idea of delaying the election until we can see what's going on with mail-in voting. That's a pretty stunning thing to say from the White House.
Yeah, I mean, even for this president, we understand that when he sees those numbers, when he sees that the economy contracted at a 32% rate annualized over the second quarter, when he sees that this pandemic is exploding into the fall because he ignored Joe Biden's advice and everybody else's advice from January, when he sees poll numbers that show that he's basically lost Michigan, that now he's having to fight for his life in Ohio, Texas, Arizona, Florida, other states that he thought he had in the bag just 6 months ago, what's Donald Trump do? He doesn't take corrective actions. He retweets conspiracy theories about demon DNA, mocking the use of masks, talking about hydroxychloroquine and something that doesn't work, and now he's talking about delaying the election. Again,
who's surprised?
We've got to connect everything that he's done with what he did on June the 1st and failed, then what he tried in Portland, Oregon, and now him talking about a fraudulent election, and now him talking about delaying the election. This is a president who knows, because of his own inadequacies, because of his own ineptitude, he's going to lose an election. So he thinks that he can just delay the election. Democrats, Republicans, independents, they give a damn about this constitutional republic. They need to prepare and need to prepare now. We'll be right back. We're looking at live pictures from Atlanta, Georgia, Ebenezer Baptist Church, where John Lewis is going to be celebrated today. His life celebrated, his memory celebrated. A man who gave his entire life to the extension of voting rights. And we juxtapose that this morning with news of a man who is actually wanting to upend the voting rights and break U.S. laws to actually upend this year's election, and is now talking about possibly delaying it, talking about universal mail-in voting and delaying the election. Of course, not a coincidence that this comes at the same time that the news is breaking that the economy has collapsed over the past 3 months at record rates. Willie, unfortunately for Donald Trump, U.S. Code Section 7, entitled Time of Election, says this: the Tuesday next after the first Monday in November in every even-numbered year is established as a day for the election in each of the states and the territories of the United States of representatives and delegates to the Congress commencing on the 3rd of January next thereafter. And it also applies, of course, the president and his election, also a federal law that Donald Trump can't change.
It's in the Constitution. Just like he can't open schools unilaterally as he would like to,
it's a sacred
he cannot
day.
delay the election. But we have a president whose mindset is, let's push off this election during coronavirus. That's where he is, and it won't cut it for Republicans today when they're asked to say, I don't read the tweets. They ought to be asked about this. They ought to respond and show some courage with it. And now as we roll into this funeral today at Ebenezer Baptist Church, lying beneath that flag is the very best of America, John Lewis, in the church where Martin Luther King grew up, where his father preached and where he preached. John Lewis is the best of America, and everyone ought to read his New York Times piece that he submitted and asked to be printed on the day of his funeral. And we have arrived at that day in Atlanta, guys.
Well, and we certainly have, and Mika, whether the president's talking about delaying elections for members of Congress, he can't do that because of statute. If he's talking about delaying it for president of the United States, he can't do that as well. We've got laws. We've got the Constitution of the United States. Donald Trump has nothing but angry and bitter tweets.
That does it for us this morning.